Have you ever poured your heart and soul into a beautiful, interactive website, only to find out that Google gives it zero love? Yeah, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we are going to tackle one of the trickiest puzzles in modern SEO, how to make those JavaScript-heavy websites finally visible to search engines. Okay, so picture this. You launch your new site. It's interactive, it's dynamic, it's everything a user could want. But then you check your analytics and crickets. The search traffic is a total ghost town. It's an incredibly frustrating but super common problem. Your masterpiece might be completely invisible to the very search engines you need to connect with your audience. So, what's the big disconnect here? Well, the core issue really boils down to a fundamental conflict in how your site is perceived. See, search engine bots just don't experience your website the same way a human visitor does. What you see is definitely not what they get. And here's the root of it all. For you, a human, your browser instantly runs all that JavaScript to build the page. Easy. But a search engine crawler has to do the exact same thing, and it's on a really tight schedule. This process of executing or rendering the JavaScript can be slow, and you know what? Sometimes it just fails, leaving the crawler staring at a completely blank page. This brings us right to the first major hurdle we have to get over, a concept that's known as the render gap. So what exactly is the render gap? Think of it as that empty space, that moment in time between the initial, almost blank HTML file your server sends out and the final, fully formed page that a user sees. For a search engine, that gap can be like a black hole where all of your valuable content just disappears. And this comparison just makes it crystal clear. On the left, you've got your standard client-side rendering. The browser does all the work. The bot gets an empty shell and a bunch of code, which means you get slow or even incomplete indexing. But on the right, with server-side rendering, the server sends a fully formed page right away. And that's exactly what we want, fast and complete indexing. So how do we bridge this gap? Well, there are two main strategies. The most robust solution is server-side rendering, or SSR. This means your server does the heavy lifting, delivering a fully built HTML page to everyone, bots and users. A really clever alternative is dynamic rendering. This is a hybrid approach where your server detects if the visitor is a bot and serves it a special pre-rendered version, while users get the normal client-side experience. But getting the bot to see your content is really only the first step. The next challenge is making sure you're not wasting its time, because even a visible site can send a crawler down all kinds of useless rabbit holes. And this brings us to the idea of a crawl budget. Think of it like an allowance. Google only allocates a certain amount of resources to explore your site. So if you have things like product filters that can create thousands of near-identical URLs, you're forcing the crawler to waste its entire budget on junk pages, and it might miss your most important content entirely. So how do you protect that budget? It's a three-step process. First, you block crawlers from low-value areas, like those search filter results, using a simple file called robots.txt. Second, you guide them on the pages they can access. Using a canonical tag, for instance, tells Google, hey, of these 5 similar pages, this one is the real one. And finally, you focus their attention with a clean XML sitemap, which is basically a treasure map that points directly to your most important stuff. All right, on to our third challenge. This one is all about making sure the most critical SEO signals on your pages don't get lost in translation. Think about the absolute SEO basics. The page title that shows up in search results, that short description right under it, or even that special structured data that creates rich results like star ratings. If these things are being loaded by JavaScript after the page loads, the crawler might just see nothing. It's like sending out a book with a blank cover. Thankfully, the solution is straightforward, but it is absolutely non-negotiable. All of these critical elements, your titles, your descriptions, all that important metadata, must be included in that initial server-rendered HTML. It has to be there from the very first moment. So you've done all the work. You've implemented server-side rendering, you've managed your crawl budget, you're finished, right? No, not quite. Now comes what might be the most important step of all. This is maybe the most important rule in all of technical SEO. Never, ever assume. Implementation is only half the battle. You have to verify. You need to step into the shoes of a search engine crawler and see your site exactly as it does. And here is your essential toolkit for doing just that. First, start with Google's own URL inspection tool. It gives you a direct first-person view of how Googlebot sees a page. Then you can scale up with a crawler like Screaming Frog, but make sure you enable JavaScript rendering to simulate how a bot experiences your entire site. And finally, use the rich results test to confirm that all your special markup for things like reviews or events is actually working. After covering all these challenges and all these solutions, let's just distill it all down to a single winning formula straight from our expert source material. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? This isn't about tricks or hacks. It's about empathy for the machine. The entire goal is to close that gap between the user experience and the crawler experience. You want to make it fast, clean, and super easy for search engines to do their job. So now you have the playbook. You understand the challenges, and you know the solutions. The only question left is, where are you going to start? What's the one URL on your website that you're going to plug into the URL inspection tool right now to finally make the invisible visible?